Hello, good afternoon. How's everybody doing? Welcome to Financial Freedom Fridays, and it's the last Friday in August of 2022. So that means next week starts September, ninth month of the year. Has this year flown by or what? Man, goes by really fast. So if you're thinking about doing something, stop thinking and go from knowing to doing. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Last week, we talked about some practical things that you could do to begin building financial independence. We're going to build on that and walk through some actual illustrations and challenge you towards making some decisions about going from knowing to doing. Um, why do we do this podcast and why are we going to do classes? What's my motive and intention? To support as many people as possible in applying the practical tools and understanding to gain financial independence and to sustain it for multiple generations. We've got some things coming in the next 6 to 12 months that are going to blow your mind in terms of your ability to do that. So hang in there. What is financial independence? It's the state of having sufficient personal wealth to live without having to work actively for basic necessities. I've seen people, and I'm in the process of doing it for myself, create financial independence using the exact principles that we're talking about here. They work. They work. Why? Because they're based on laws. They're based on natural laws and universal laws that you can't get around them. They're like gravity. Unless you apply a higher law and power to it, lift to fly an airplane, these laws, but the natural law of gravity is still in effect. So you have to keep applying these principles until they manifest in your circumstances. What is financial literacy? Financial literacy starts with learning how to earn and then spend or invest, save, manage, and invest money. Earn, spend, save, manage, and invest. So it's all aspects of your financial well being. Here's a great book. I suggest you get it. It's comprehensive in its scope and that it covers the basics on what you need to know. Tom Matthews is a person who his team manages several $billion worth of assets. So he knows what he's talking about. I encourage you to get this book. It's very readable, it's very approachable. It's great information. If you haven't gotten this book yet, please get it. How Money Works by Tom Matthews and Steve Siebold. I really encourage you to get that book. Also, go to my website, howmoneyworks.com, Gus Tucker, and take the Financial Literacy Challenge. There are 5 questions there. 5 questions. I'd like to know what your score is. Send me your score at financialfreedomfridays@gmail, and I'll send you a free ebook along with some other things that will give you some tools to begin to get on your financial independence journey. Sound good? Sound good? All right, all right, all right, all right. I hear you. Question. Creating wealth of generation. Anybody out there parents? Okay. Anybody out there have parents? Yeah, all of us, right? So the question is, have you guys ever seen or heard of a trust fund baby? You ever seen or heard of them? Maybe read about them in the news? They tend to be out doing stuff, sometimes not so good. Well, that trust fund baby didn't set up the trust fund. Some adult did. So if you weren't born with a trust fund, or when you were born, there wasn't a check deposited into an account for you to kind of give you a start up in life, or maybe when you were 18, 25, 30, there wasn't a check, there wasn't money available to really help you start off without having to start from ground zero. Why was that? Well, the reason was our family didn't do that. Is it because they didn't want to? No, I don't think so. Is it because they're bad people? Of course not. But maybe they weren't educated. Maybe nobody ever brought it to them like we're bringing it to you right now. After you and after today, there'll be no excuse for there not being something more there for your children, Worst case scenario, your grandchildren, and for sure their children. So if you got grandchildren right now, their children can be born millionaires if you just do what we talk about today. Gus, that's going to take too long. Well, how long is it taking so far? We're also going to talk to you about long-term strategies that are very safe and affordable, and you can make them happen. And then there's some short-term strategies that you can take to get wealthier faster. But we have to be responsible for them. Does that make sense? So we talked about a strategy leveraging life insurance. Now, do you remember what we talked about? You remember what we talked about? We talked about you drew a diagram, right? There was you, and then your parents, and then their parents, and then their parents. And so that's one person. Then you add your parents, now it's three. You add their parents, now that's what? Seven. Seven people. And if you add their parents, now you've added 8 more people onto it. Now you're up to 15. But just think of it this way. What if each person that was born, and we're going to even make it simpler, you had a $250,000 life insurance policy on you when you were born, right? And then when you grow up and get married, there's now you get one on your spouse, or hopefully your spouse came with one. That's the goal, that they would come with one, and you paid off one house that was worth $250,000. Now that family unit, its net worth is $750,000, right? So if your parents did that, that's 750. And if their parents did that, that's 757, that's 1.5 million. You add that together with that group, now you're at 2.25. The next group of parents do it, that's $3 million. So if you add it all together, it's 7 families. It's over $5 million that's there available when you're a kid. But all those people had to pass away. Here's the thing about insurance. It's why it's 100% success. Everybody passes away. I've heard it said life is a terminal disease, right? Nobody gets out alive. So if you know something's going to happen, it's got 100% chance of happening. How much would you bet on a sure thing? If you were going to Vegas and you knew something was a sure thing and it was going to pay 10 to 1, 20 to 1, 30 to 1 odds, and you knew it was going to hit, how much would you bet on it? Everything you could, everything you could borrow, everything you could find, you'd put it on that, right? Because you knew it was going to pay off. Yeah, Gus, but this life insurance, it pays off after I die. What if it also paid off while you were alive? How about that? So let's talk about this permanent life insurance. It's got a death benefit that's tax-free. That's for the next generation. And we're not living our lives just to bless ourselves, right? But to bless our families. It also has living benefits. What's living benefits? Well, let's say something happened to you between now and when you die. Do you think you're going to get sick? Have a heart attack, cancer, stroke, be in an accident, or something that'll impact your life? Probably. So what if you could get a percentage of that death benefit while you were alive? I have a friend, his nephew got stage 4 cancer and was able to draw $440,000 out of the death benefit of his policy for his wife and his 7 children while he was going through chemo, and he couldn't work and she couldn't work. Long-term care, elder care. How many of you have family members who have someone at home who needs someone to care for them? How are you paying for that? How does anybody pay for that? It's expensive. Have a nurse come in. The death benefit on that life insurance policy could be accelerated to help pay for that. Concierge service. We have a company that has a concierge service where when someone passes away, one call funeral is set up and handled. One call funeral set up and handle. And you can have your check in 24 hours to pay for everything. How cool is that? Inside this permanent policy, the tax treatment of the gains, in other words, we're going to show you how the money's going to grow inside the policy and you're not going to be taxed on it. How cool is that? Those 87,000 new IRS agents won't be able to tax this part of your life. Okay. Tax treatment by universities. Typically, the money inside these policies, depending on how they set up, aren't used to calculate money that your child has for college. And therefore, because they count the money, you qualify for less financial aid. Doesn't happen with the money that's inside these policies when they're set up right. Cash build up in the policies. We're going to show you, on average, the returns are in the 8 to 9% range, but some of them are uncapped inside these life insurance policies, even though they have a floor that doesn't allow you to lose money, which is the market correction protection. You can't lose money inside of it. And then the money inside of it, you can borrow it from yourself. You can borrow it from yourself at low to no interest. Most of them in the first few years, the interest is less than 2%. And after 5 years, there's no interest on the money you borrow from yourself. Unlike some policies where you borrow from yourself and they charge you 8% interest. So how cool is that? So we talked about the multi-generational wealth scenario, 4 generations of a family. In this one, we talked about a $500,000 permanent policy taken out on a child. It can be $100, so you invest $150 a month. You have $1 million in cash at age 65. Each couple pays off a home for $250,000. Each family has a minimum net worth of 1.25. And 7 families in 4 generations, that's 8.75 in family net worth. Now I'm going to show you how that will work. I'm going to show you a scenario with a policy, how that would work. Well, how do these policies work? Well, on this side is a term policy. On this side is a permanent policy. A term policy is you buying insurance for a period of time, just like a lease agreement or a rent. You rent for a year, you pay them a certain amount every month. If you move out of that year, move out after that year, what do you get back? Maybe a security deposit, but you don't get the equity and the value that home went up. No, because you don't own it, you're renting it. So it's usually very affordable. Premiums are fixed for the whole time period. And nowadays you can get living benefits. You get a big check if you have a critical illness. That person I told you about that got the $440,000 check, it was a term policy. It didn't come out of the cash value. It came out of the death benefit. The death benefit became a living benefit for them. Okay. Now, permanent policies, there's many kinds. In our community, there's many kinds. Typically, most people have heard of whole life, where you pay a fixed premium for your entire life. They usually earn interest at 2 to 6%, usually more closer to the 2%. Then there's something called universal life that has more flexible premiums. Whole life is usually a fixed premium. Whatever you pay that for your entire life. Universal life policies have more flexible premiums, but their returns are pretty similar. Index universal life not only has flexible premiums, but the interest is linked. And they've grew on average, this didn't come out right, from 2 to as high as 10, 12% or more a year, because they're linked to the performance on the stock market, the S&P 500 and other stock indexes. And some of them are uncapped. So if the market goes up 20, 30%, that's what you'll get. If the market crashes, you can't lose money because it's got a floor on it. Sounds too good to be true. It's not, but it's inside of the insurance policy. So part of the money you pay in goes to pay for insurance. Part of it is saved for you. In this example, you pay $100, and this is only for educational purposes. Okay, this isn't for financial advice. This isn't a recommendation. This is just to share with you how the concept works. You put $100 in, part is saved and tied to these indexes. Part of it covers the cost of insurance. So let's say in this one, you got a maximum of 15%. That's the cap. And the minimum is 0. And in 2008, The S&P 500 went down by 38%. So if your money was in the stock market, it went down double digits. If your money was inside this permanent life insurance policy, what would it have gone down that year? If you're out there with me, let me put it in the chat, put it in the comments. What would it have gone down that year inside the policy? If you had it in a stock or a mutual fund or your 401k, you'd be down 38%. But if it was inside this vehicle, what would it have gone down? It's a question for you. You know what the number is? Zero. It would have gone down zero. The next year it went up 23%. So you folks that were down 38, it came up 23%, but you still be below where you were that year before because you were down 38%. Okay, and when you lose money, you have to come back twice as much as you lost. So if you get 38%, you don't come back to zero. You got to get 76% to come back to zero. But this person's at zero, you're down 38%. So the next year they went from where they started to 23%, you're still negative. Then the next year it went up 12%. So they got the whole 12%. And you're still not back to zero. Do you see how powerful it is to have that market correction protection on the downside where you're not going to lose money? Does that make sense? So we have those kinds of strategies. They are available on life insurance products, but they're also available on products that don't have life insurance attached to them. Okay, for more conservative kind of things. Now, let me show you something. Let me show you something. This is a life insurance policy, and what I'm showing you here is a life insurance policy on a 1-year-old. You see how they started when they were 1 year old, and it's a $200,000 policy. They started when they were 1 year old. And they're putting in $150 a month. That's $1,800 a year. So at the end of the first year, it's got $1,128 in it. Why? Because life insurance costs money. And in this illustration, it's going up 7% a year. Write that down, 7% a year. Okay, the S&P 500 has averaged between 8 and 9% a year. Okay, so this is at 7% a year. Gus, this is going to take a long time for the money to grow. Yeah, but it's going to grow. And I'm going to show you how this shouldn't be the only thing you're doing for $150. But look, this baby, when they were born, boom, you went out and did this. You can insure a child at 15 days old. When should you insure them at 15 days old? So you get them when they're healthy. You lock in the price for this at the earliest point. It's that way their whole life. So look at what happens. They paid in $1,800. There's $1,128. Now look what's going on over here. The death benefit went up by the amount of the cash value. You can structure the policy so it'll do that. Now we're going to look at every 10 years. You see the premium, the cash value, and look what happened 20 years in. Look, this is what you paid in. Now you've got more money in it than you put in it. Right? And this is not putting in the maximum you can put in here. This is putting in $150 a month. Now, if you just wanted this as a life insurance policy, the cost would be $35. But the goal isn't the life insurance only, it's to build cash inside of it. Why would you build cash inside of a life insurance policy? Tax advantages. It's not taxed while it's growing. It's not taxed when it's taken out. And thirdly, the death benefit isn't taxed. And then the other benefits you're going to get when the child becomes of age, the other benefits will kick in as well. So as you go all the way out, look here at 60, 70 years old. Look what's happening. You've put in about $100,000 and look how much you have. 7 times what you put in. At 71, 10 times what you put in. And look at the death benefit over here if something were to happen to him. Okay? Now, I want you to notice something real quick. Let's say you got $763,000. And let's say it's growing at 7% a year. So somebody get a calculator out there. Somebody get a calculator. Somebody out there got a phone or a calculator or something. Tell me what 763,000 is times 7%. Somebody do that for me. I want you to put it in the comments. Let a brother know you got the answer. I want to make sure you're with me on this. So I'm going to wait. Just 763,818 times 7%. What is that? I'm going to got a calculator over here somewhere. I think. Yep, right here. 763. 763, 818 times 7%. Anybody get a number? Nobody's going to share a number with me? I'll tell you what it is. It's a little over $53,000. So imagine you're 61 years old and you take $53,000 out and this grew 7%. How much do you have left? 763,818. Because you're taking out the interest. You feel me? You still got the principal. You're just taking out the interest. How long could you do that for? Forever. As long as you're getting that 7% forever. Now you've paid in $108,000. If you take out $53,000 one year and then you do it the second year, that's $106,000. How much did you put in? 108. The third year, you take out 53,000, you're 64 years old. Social Security hasn't even kicked in. And you've taken out $150,000. How much did you put in? 108. So if you took out 153 and you paid in 108, how much did the policy cost you over your lifetime? Zero. It's like having an apartment building paid off, but you're still getting the rents. After a while, you'll get all the money you ever paid for the mortgage. And if it's an apartment building, somebody else paid for the mortgage anyway. It's like having an apartment building. Pretty wild, huh? And that money's tax-free. And when you pass away and you leave that 977 to your family, guess what? Tax-free. But Gus, that took a long time. But it happened. This person passes away. Remember we talked about they leave, $250,000, $500,000 each, plus a house. You see how you can leave a lot more than that? Do you see how when those 7 families passed away, there'd be a lot more than $8 million that left for that family to build together? Do you see that? This is just one thing you're doing. It's not the only thing you're doing. Let's keep going. So we talked about you could do this inside of a life insurance policy. There are also things out there, and people have heard this word annuity and they freak out. Wow! I want you to hear the concept. There's no out-of-pocket cost for the product I'm about to show you other than the money you put in it. I just want you to understand how it rates. What are banks paying on interest right now? 1%, right? So if you had your money in the bank, you got 1% every year. After 9 years, you'd have $109,000. So this is 10 years of actual returns of the S&P 500. This is 10 years when the market was up. Man, a bunch of good years in a row. Look at that. If you'd invested in this indexed annuity that's capped at 5%, you'd have 149,000. Remember, you can't lose money in this. The worst you can do is zero. The best you can do in this one is 5%. Here's the bank again, 109, 369. These are 10 really bad years. Down 9, down 12, down 22, down 37. It's still better than putting your money where? In the bank. We encourage you not to put your money in the bank, but put your bank money where the bank puts their money. I want you to look something up. Just Google it. It's called BOLI, Bank Owned Life Insurance. Bank Owned Life Insurance. Look it up. See how much money banks are putting into life insurance. And not only banks, but corporations. Look up COLI, 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 corporate owned life insurance. Check it out. Let me know what you find out. Send me an email, call me, let me know what you find out. Next thing I want to show you real quick. Now, Gus, you said, man, that took a long time. These are kind of the things that you can put your money into. Okay. Now, these are all things that are called, they're registered investments. The SEC, they've registered these investments with the SEC. Okay. And that you get a prospectus with it, and it talks about what they can and can't do. And these investments have a lot of investor protection in them. Okay. But here's the thing. What are second and savings accounts paying you? Certificates of deposit. How much are they paying you in interest right now? Okay. What's happening in the stock market right now? Man, it's kind of rough, right? Let me ask you a question. What's not on this list that you'd have the most control over and would pay you the most money? More than all these things on here. What's not on that grid right there? I'll give you a little bit to think about it. What's not up there? It's not a registered investment, but you'd have more control of it and your return on investment would be higher. What do you think that is? You know what it is? It's owning your own business. Yep. You want higher returns? You want better returns than this? Own your own business. Learn how to own and operate real estate effectively in different forms or fashions. Nowadays, man, there's Airbnbs. You don't even have to own the Airbnbs. Okay? There's rental property. There's other ways to do real estate. There are many ways to own your own business these days using technology, you leveraging the internet, leveraging social media. Your own business is going to beat all these investments that are up here. And guess what? You get to have control of it because you don't control the stock market or mutual funds. Somebody else does. But your own business, you control it. So I would challenge you, everybody that's listening to me, you need to own a business of some sort. One, for the return on investment, and two, for the tax advantages. Okay? So with that, I'm going to leave you to think about it. And what this is a coaching checklist that we use. If you email me, you take the quiz and you email me. One of the things I'm going to do is send you this checklist so you can go through and see what areas of your financial strategy you need to work on. You can either work on it with us or you can work on it with somebody else, but you're going to need to work on it if you want to create financial independence. Okay, so let me hear from you about what we talked about today. And I want to know, did it make sense? Are you going to do something about it? If you need some help doing something about it, reach out to us. We're here to help you. Okay, that's financialfreedomfridays@gmail.com. You can hit my Google Voice, leave me a message. I'll call you back, 312-569-0757. 312-569-0757. We're here to help. Okay. So with that, we're out for today. It's the end of August. Man, it's beautiful up here in Chicago. 70 degrees, not too hot, not too cold, nice little wind. We going outside. We're gonna do something fun today. How about you? Huh? Bye. Have a good weekend. Talk to you later.